So we talked about dreaming last time, and I don't know whether you did. And and of course, some people, when you talk about dream, they think of sleeping and then dreaming. My son always talks to me about his dreams, and we were talking the other day with my boys about them dreaming. And some of you dreamt, I don't know whether you have this, where you dream like you're falling in a bottomless pit. You're falling and you're falling and you're falling and you're falling. And then when you're about to hit the bottom, poof, you wake up. Now, I used to think that that dream was just me, but until I shared and I realized, I think every kid goes through such a dream. And my son was telling me he dreams like that. So anyway, so I hope you dreamt and you're able to jot some things down. So whichever place you jot them, pull it out. Now, today, I wanted us to talk about change. And change is good. Change is scary. Change is painful sometimes. Change is difficult sometimes. But change is necessary. It's important that we're able to change something. Whatever it is you want to change. And I still want you to be thinking through the 10 categories we talked about. Now, there's a tool that I like a lot when it comes to change. And in most cases, you realize that you could be stuck in a situation. You're in a place where you are wondering what to do about a situation. Maybe it is your marriage. Maybe it is work. Maybe it is finances. Maybe it's physical. Maybe it's personal development. And you look at it and you feel like, I need to change. I need to change my physical. I don't like the way my health is. I need to do something about my physical being. And as you're thinking through that, I want you to think of this tool. It's called the change equation. And in this tool, what we talk about is for you to really change something. I don't know what you want to change. You want to change your friendships. You want to change the relationships around you. You want to change the course of your life. You want a different experience. For you to get that motivation to do change, you have to acknowledge what you're dealing with. And there's always resistance to every change. And for only change to happen, these 3 things are very important. You have to be very dissatisfied with your current status quo. If you're not dissatisfied with your current status, you might have wishful thinking, all the dreams we talked about, but you'll never do anything about it. You'll be this person who sits and talks about, hey, I can make a lot of money. I can actually live a good life. I know people who live good lives. And by me, I have the ability to live a good life. And you can talk about the good life you can live. But so long as you're not dissatisfied with your current status, it will be very hard for you to do something about this dream that you have about what you want to see about your life. And so, think of your categories of life, the categories we talked about. And maybe I'll just pick on one. Let's talk about personal development. Unless you're really dissatisfied with your current status, current position, because you have to get to a point where you wake up every morning wondering, why am I this way? Why am I like this? Why am I not graduating? Why am I not going for that? What is wrong with me? That dissatisfaction, you have to be dissatisfied with your current status. The next thing is you need to clearly see a vision for the future. Don't just do it because it is nice, it's what people are doing, it's what your friends are all about. No. What's your vision for the future? What is this future that you see that when I graduate, I will be able to get this opportunity, I will be able to do this? What is this future that when you look at, you're like, I want that. That is the future I want. That is it. That's the second thing that is very key. The next thing that is very key is you have to be very clear of your natural next step. If you're not clear on the natural next step, you might have all this figured out, but you will not make a step. You will not move. And can be very frustrating, by the way. If you are dissatisfied with where you are, you know where you're supposed to be, but you don't know what to do about it. That can be very frustrating. And so, it's very important that you ask yourself, what is my natural next step? What do I need to do to move from where I am right now to where I want to be? Now, a combination of all this combined, your dissatisfaction with the status quo, your vision for this beautiful future that you want, your natural next steps, a combination of all these have to be greater than the resistance you're likely to face. Because if they are not greater than the resistance you're likely to face, then you might not make a change. You might not experience this change that you need to experience. We'll talk about types of resistance in the next one, but I want you to think of it that way. Now, a couple of years back, I was going through a process of thinking through, and that was actually before I came across this tool. So I was like at a point where I had done this program, the program I was doing with the young men in Kawangware. So I'd done this program for a while. And I think I'd reached a point where I was dissatisfied with the status quo of that program. We used to make gift bags. The government had brought a ban on polythene bags. And so we were very happy that things would work. And so we started doing, we were happy, and some of our clients, people started calling us for these bags and everything. But then, something has happened that we didn't know. Everybody else started making these bags. And Chinese also started supplying these bags in the market, the brown bags in the market, the paper bags, not the polythene, but the paper bags in the market. And so all of a sudden, it became hard to sustain this thing. It became hard to sustain this program. Some of our donors had gotten donor fatigue. So I was at a point where I was very dissatisfied with this. Now, so I started thinking around my life as Gabriel. What exactly am I going to be doing? So I was dissatisfied with what I was seeing. I was dissatisfied with the frustrations. Some of our clients started asking us questions they used not to ask us, and it was so hard to secure an order for bags, and end month would reach, would have no money to pay these young men who were within this program. It just became so hard to keep this going. And every day and then I'd go home and I'd be so frustrated. So I was dissatisfied with what was going on. Very dissatisfied. So I remember having a conversation with one of my senior friends, and I talked over with him, and he told me, Gabriel, there's this work you do with university students. Do you know, this work has a great potential for a brighter future. How about you focus on that? How about you pay more attention to that? And with that slight conversation, I started visualizing this vision for this work that I was doing with university students. Some of you know about it. It's called Africa Youth Leadership Forum. So I started seeing a future for that. the vision of the future started becoming a bit more clearer for that. And I'd never really thought much about it since then. And this was back in 2016. So I started seeing this work growing and becoming something better. I started having conversation with my wife, started having conversation with some people about this work. And the more I talked about it with others, the more it became clear that it is possible that this work could grow. And then my next thing was to brainstorm around the natural next step for this thing. And it was a painful process. So the natural next step was, and this was painful, that we're going to shut the program we were doing in the slums with the young men. And I would transition and start paying more attention, start giving myself more to this Africa Youth Leadership Forum work in Kenya in 2016. It had been growing, but by the side, we were not paying much attention to it, but it was slowly growing. And so in 2016, when then the natural next step was close this program in the slums, focus more on the AYLF work, Africa Youth Leadership Forum work, build it, pay more attention to it, visit the small group, intentionally reach out to people. And I did that. And I did that. And all of a sudden, it worked. And right now, this is like almost 7 years later, it has grown into leaps and bounds. Now, that's a simple example. That's an example of how change around my life, around my hope for my life, my growth, my career, my work, around my work, how I transitioned. I made change from working in the slum with the young men to transitioning to really paying more attention to this university work with student and student leaders called Africa Youth Leadership Forum. So I don't know about you where you need to make change. I don't know about you. Maybe it is work. Maybe it is personal development, as we highlighted a little bit earlier. Maybe it is your spiritual life. Maybe it's marriage for you. Maybe it is social for you. Maybe it is finances. You're dissatisfied with your current status quo. You have a vision for the future. And then you'll be able to overcome the resistance. We'll talk about resistance again in the next one. And so today I'll leave you with that to think through and ask yourself, which area do I want change? Practical, genuine change to happen. It's easy to say, I'll change my life, I'll be a better person, but it's hard to do that wholesomely. I think it's important to target, to narrow down and say, I want change on my marriage. And what am I going to do about it? Or I want change in my work. And what am I going to do about it? It doesn't mean that you have to do one at a time. But they can happen concurrently. You can do this as you do. And we'll look at that. You do this as you do this. We'll look at how that can play out. You do this, you're doing this, and you're doing this. But again, you can't do so many things at the same time. You need to prioritize. And we'll talk about priorities also. So you need to prioritize and pick, what can I prioritize in this phase of my life and address, and then when I finish, and then I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do that. So what area of your life do you want to see change? What are you dissatisfied about? What do you have? Do you have a vision for the future? And do you have a natural next step? With that, I wish you a wonderful time. I wish you a wonderful day. If it is morning for you, if it is evening for you, I wish you a wonderful evening. And till we meet again, have a wonderful time. Thank you for listening.